can hear it over the speaker.
Welcome members, friends, and visitors here in the sanctuary and at home in all your homes on Zoom. Here we are at the Unitarian Universalists of the Chester River. A special welcome to our minister today, and I am so glad he's here because I did not hear back from him. This is Robert Greisler, who comes to us from Mill Creek, which is in Newark, Delaware. So we welcome him with a special welcome. And now a recognition of the gifted fingers and the wonderful being of Dick Durham on our telephone, on our piano. Thank you, Dick, for being here also. Please join me now in the lighting of our chalice. Yeah. We light this chalice as a symbol of my light on all creation. We light this chalice for truth. May the search for truth be with us always. We light this chalice for love. May the love for others be strong in our hearts.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for welcoming me. It's a pleasure beyond words that I can be with you today, and I thank you for being willing to put up with my pedantic words. And my sermon will not be any more than 45 minutes, so please don't worry. Soul really has to do with a sense of the heart being touched by feeling. An open heart that is grieving is a well of reception. It is moved entirely by what it has perceived. Soul also has to do with the overall journey of life as a story, a representation of deep inner meanings. Soul is not a thing. but a dimension of experiencing life and living. Seen in this way, soul is the primary essence of our true nature, our spirit itself, and our life force.
We continue to retain COVID precautions, and therefore we do not sing, exchange mics, provide the UU sacrament of coffee, or even to pass the collection plate. Therefore, there is a collection plate for your consideration at the back of the sanctuary. And if you have not signed in, please do so in case there is a need for contact tracing. However, we are still a loving, caring community of souls and can still share our joys and concerns, which previously have been recorded on cards. I received, and before I go into this loving one, I'd like to say, let us hold in our hearts all those people who have been so tried by this COVID disease and deaths. I was listening to the radio today and teachers are recounting the dilemmas of their young students, so many of whom have experienced a family death. We are fortunate here, but we are also careful. And we thank those people who are keeping us careful. Now from Linda, she says, thanks to the many volunteers who made the tributes to Tom McHugh and Fall Fest in Rock Hall so very special, especially Betsy and Dick Durham. Thank you, Dick, and thank you, Betsy, whom I can also say thanking to both of them for making a wonderful occasion at Churchill Theater last night with their wonderful event to raise money for their reconstruction of their theater, and look forward to it. They already have plans for a coming play theater. So hope to see everybody there, with thanks to Dick. Thank you.
That was really not very kind of you at all, sir. I'm supposed to now speak after you've just played Moon River. That's just not fair. It's not fair at all. Thank you. That was beyond beautiful and one of my absolute favorite songs. I'm going to need you to put your best hats on. I'm not necessarily going to ask you to stand up straight, but I'm going to ask you please to not raise your hand if you have any comments or questions, or if something that in this reading delights you. I want you to be quiet and focused. Just pretend that you're in school, that's tomorrow morning and you're in school. And I will share with you our reading. And if after the service, you'd like to talk with me about one of the particular things that I share in the reading, then I'd be very willing to do that. We'll be sharing today in my granddaughter's second birthday present for me. It's called The Quiet Book. And so I just hope that you can stay quiet throughout it. I know it's a challenge, but I think you can do it. There are many kinds of quiet. First one, awake quiet. Jelly side upside down quiet. Don't scare the robin quiet. Others telling secrets quiet. Coloring in the lines quiet. Thinking of a good reason you were drawing on the wall quiet. Hide and seek quiet. Last one to get picked up from school quiet. Swimming underwater quiet. Pretending you're invisible quiet. Lollipop quiet. First look at your new hairstyle quiet. Sleeping sister quiet. Ryan has twin brothers and sisters, little ones, so she has to pay attention carefully to that. Right before you yell, surprise, quiet. Making a wish, quiet. Top of a roller coaster, quiet. Best friends don't need to talk, quiet. Surprise from Aunt Tilly, quiet. Do iguanas bite, quiet? Before the concert starts, quiet. Try not to hiccup, quiet. First snowfall, quiet. Car ride at night, quiet. Too many bubbles, quiet. Story time, quiet. You guys are doing well. Tucking in Teddy, quiet. Bedtime kiss, quiet. What flashlight, quiet. Sound asleep, quiet. You did very well. I am deeply blessed in that my backyard is an oasis. Our property backs up against the park, and when the folks built the home in 1960, they planted fir and pine trees all the way around the property, and they are now 60 years mature. White pines that are 80 feet tall, and I won't bore you with all of them, but Norwegian pines, and it's just a beautiful place. What an incredible blessing. And I like to go out there, as does my wife, and have times of quiet. Just sitting and then listening, because there's always some little insect or bird or whatever chirping, making noises. The space has always got a little bit of that gentle, quiet noise of nature. But I like also to try a deeper kind of quiet. I will ask for a show of hands. Has anybody here at some point in time tried meditation of any type? I had a seeking suspicion that with a bunch of Unitarians, I'd get some hands raised for that one. Yes, it's my approach to meditation is I do guided meditation. It helps me to focus because my mind races much too quick. But when I have been brought to that place where I have not only the quiet, but the listening to my heart and the letting go of what's in my brain bouncing around, there is a different something that happens. For me, and the reason I chose the reading I did about soul is that I get a sense that in those moments, I am touching quietly a deeper part of myself. And I think many of you have experienced that in the experience of meditation. Today, my focus is on loss. And the title of my sharing is The Helpless Healer. And I start with the word quiet because in the face of loss, I believe that all we have is quiet and listening, and then finding that deep part of ourself that here I suggest might be called the soul, and bringing radical love and acceptance. Finding that place in ourselves where we can see the other with love and compassion. The loss takes all kinds of forms. It can be our daughter or granddaughter not getting into the college that they really, really wanted to get into. And that's a real loss, right? At that age, that's a huge dream for them. It can mean not getting the promotion that you wanted, or it can mean, in my case, once getting the promotion I wanted, but it meant I had to move from Connecticut, where I had been for 10 years, building friends, loving a community, part of a church that was part of me, where my children grew up, and then moving to Delaware. That's not a Delaware joke. That is a story about the pain and the loss of leaving that community and moving on to another. So there are lots of different ways that we experience loss. And what's key here is that for each of us, whatever loss you experience, similar to what I spoke of or something else, it is your loss. It is unique to the extent that you are the only expert. You are the only expert in your loss. I am the only one who knows what it felt like when my dad died. I had been a minister for quite a long time, and I knew the concepts I'm talking about now and whatever, but it wasn't until I lost Dad that I realized how every single word a person said to me was utterly meaningless. It did absolutely nothing to relieve the pain. I know everybody meant well. Never got mad at somebody for something they might say, but I was struck inside by how what was being said to me wasn't making any difference in my grief. That's the loss that we struggle with most, right? We struggle with death. It is the ultimate grief. It is, as some call it, the existential grief of life. That we all know that we have lost loved ones and we ourselves will die. And we each in our own selves figure out a way, think through, wrestle with, sometimes pray about, sometimes read about, sometimes meditate about how we imagine life after death to be or not to be. It ranges all the way from those who say, well, I believe in Jesus, and so me and my friends are going to heaven, and sorry, guys, you're not. All the way to those who are very, very scientifically based and simply say, life is an accident of evolution, and we are blessed to have the wonderful experience of it. And then when we die, it's over. And that's the spectrum. And all things being equal, we each sit someplace on that spectrum. But it's our spectrum, it's our place. And not only can it not be dictated by an outside organization or a religion or a professor, it is ours to hold and to create and to imagine and to develop for ourselves. It is our understanding of life, and therefore it is also our response to grief when we lose someone we love, when we lose a spouse, when we lose a brother, when we lose a dear friend, or when we, God forbid, lose a grandchild or a son or daughter. The grief that we know in that time is our grief, and it is unique, and no one understands it. And so in some sense, the people that enter our lives in those moments are helpless. What I want to suggest, they're not only helpless, they are also healers. That if I choose, if I have the opportunity to be present with someone who has truly lost a spouse or whatever, if I can choose, if we can choose to go to that quiet place, to go to that place of listening, to go to that place of openness and genuine love, then we become what I call helpless healers. We bring to our friend a space where they are so accepted and so loved, and who they are and what they are experiencing is so clearly and perfectly valued for them, the expert of their grief, that they can then, in their way, in their words, in their process, in their sense of what soul is, of what life is, of what faith is, they can then move and process through that. I consider this to be one of the greatest honors that we can have as human beings, is to be present with those we love when they experience loss of any kind. To be the one who listens, to be quiet, and to love, and to listen. It's interesting. There are people who are professional grief counselors. I happen to do grief counseling, but I giggle at the idea of being called professional. If love is not a sickness or a disease or something that needs treatment, then neither does grief. Grief is the mirror image of love. And in both cases, love is best responded to by love, and grief is best responded to by love. I have just met you, but I strive to love you. And I hope that for this community, as it recovers gradually from this very, very painful time, this time when so many people who needed that love could not have it, who so desperately needed our presence could not have it, as we move beyond it, may we, because of this time, more acutely choose to be present with those in need, friend and family alike. I have confidence that you have already and that you will continue to do so. Now, at this point, I believe the chalice is to be put out. Is that right? Or are we going to do a little bit of music? No, I think I have down here. May I use your words? Is that okay? I really like, Biden and I had talked about this beforehand, but I really, I think this is beautiful. And, sharing it together is magnificent. But I'm going to go get back to the microphone so that folks on live stream, who, by the way, I was recalcitrant in not welcoming you who are at home for joining us today. You are, through the magic of live streaming, actually with us. And if it was 100 years ago, you would be convinced that somebody up here was playing some kind of a trick on you. So please join me as we extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again. May we go from here with love in our hearts, hope in our minds, help in our hands, to live our principles and to give our gifts for those whose lives we touch, whose lives touch ours. Do you want to close this with song? Do you mind? Thank you. And you could do Moon River again if you wanted.